Hello, everyone. My name is Theodora Lau, and I'm the founder of Unconventional Ventures. Now, ESG is front and center of our everyday discussions. I'd say not a day goes by that we don't hear something about ESG. But what exactly does that mean for our financial services industry? And how does data and AI, specifically generative AI, change the way we look at processing data and creating new things? Joining us for our discussion today, I am very delighted to welcome back Richard Peterson, Head of Data and AI ESG Enterprise Solution Strategy at FIS. Hello, Richard.
Hi, Theodora. Thank you for having me. Really excited to be back with you.
I loved our discussion last time, and I'm sure this one is going to be just as amazing. Now, let's catch up to some recent news. For example, S&P Global Ratings announced recently that it will no longer include ESG credit indicators in its reports because it's decided that the dedicated analytic narrative paragraphs in their credit rating reports, i.e., the text, are more effective at providing detail and transparency on the ESG credit factors that are material to the analysis. Now, that created a little bit of a debate because even though the scores might not be perfect, they are some sort of a yardstick. And that really doesn't bode well, if you ask me, on the industry in general because of the political pressure and scrutiny that has been bestowed on ESG. So I am very curious to hear from your perspective, Richard. How does FIS approach ESG metrics, and walk us through some of that partnerships that you have in place?
Yeah, sure. So it's an interesting question. And I think, we touched a bit upon it last time. I still feel like we are still kind of in the early days of ESG and sort of coalescing towards standards and ways of reporting and ways of understanding and processing information, right? So, I disagree that I don't think it bodes well. I don't think that it doesn't bode well, I think is the way you put it, for the industry, with S&P, not publishing ratings until there's more guidance as to how best to sort of utilize the information, right? I think when the SEC puts out their guidelines for data collection, for sharing data, for reporting data, I think you're going to find that the many different methodologies that a lot of these rating agencies currently have are going to sort of coalesce more towards a bit more standardized way of looking at things. And then, of course, have, each of them have their secret sauce and sort of utilizing their own thought leadership internally, right? But I think at this point, it's probably not a negative. I think it's just recognition that the industry is still quite in its infancy. Once the SEC moves forward, I think we're going to start moving. We're going to grow, right? We're now going to become the toddlers, and then the little kids, the bigger kids, and finally become adults. We're still in that toddler phase. So anyways, I think that kind of sets off. You asked the question about our partnerships, and I think we're agnostic still, right? We want to work with as many participants in the industry as possible. We want to be able to provide our customers, the ability to pick and choose who they'd like to work with, the integrations into our products, and just kind of, we're more focused on the workflow and the data than we are about telling you how best to use the data and at this particular stage with ESG.
I like your comparison with the toddler phase and then growing up. And I do remember in our last conversation, we talked about it is still very, very early on. And I think to your point, until we get a little bit more mature, it might actually be better to go back to the text. I mean, words tell a story, doesn't it?
That's right. I mean, and we've had some partnerships with folks right now that we are currently integrating into all of our products, right? We have FactSet True Value that we signed a partnership with back in November 2022. They are providing us with ESG data and analytics and reporting solutions, and I think you're going to see some of the fruits of that labor coming into our products and services later on this year and into next year. We've announced a partnership with PwC. We're going to be working with them on climate risk modeling for large corporations for Scope 3 emissions, et cetera. And we continue to provide thought leadership, through European Leveraged Finance Association, Alpha, and others. It's making sure we're staying involved and staying aware of all the latest trends and kind of keeping on top of everything for our clients. So it's a daunting task. I think ESG is a daunting topic to follow and really kind of engage with. But it is what it is right now. This is kind of how you sort of have to approach it, in my opinion, because otherwise you'll get siloed into things that may or may not, end up being where everyone wants to focus.
That's very true. So stay focused on the ball game. Now,
Yeah.
speaking of which, though, I came across something that I looked and I scratched my head. Wait a minute, this is not making much sense. So it was from a survey that said that 52% of companies say climate related threats, such as climate risk to physical assets or energy transition risk, represent very material risk to their companies over the last 12 months. Now, this is over 50% of companies that say that. But yet, only half of the risk executives have incorporated ESG and sustainability factors into their risk management framework. So, how does that work? Because on one hand, it feels like, yeah, we recognize that there are risks, but on the other hand, like, yeah, we're not really doing anything about it. Not much, at least. Curious to hear your thoughts on why that might be the case, and hopefully that would change in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of the way the world works right now, right? I mean, it's kind of the procrastination thing, right? I used to do this back in school, is kind of wait till the night before, and then I'm going to study really hard and get up to speed and do it. It's not the best way, not the best way of approaching it. We're really encouraging our clients to really get involved and really kind of go all in on this because it's not going away. I think we kind of said before the train has left the station, right? So you're either going to get on it or you're going to be late and you're just going to have to catch up. So yeah, I think that this jives with kind of what I've seen in the market as well, is that a lot of folks know it's coming. They know they're going to have a lot more skill sets in-house related to ESG to address all of the coming needs. Some have started to really start bulking up on hiring folks and making sure they are going to have the capabilities. Others are still taking that wait and see approach. And it's a lot of those firms. It's probably that, what was it, 52%, half,
Yeah.
right? 50% are kind of waiting, right? And that's probably, because they know they're going to have a good amount of spend coming. And it's almost the kind of wait until you last minute you have to do it, but it's really not the right approach. I think as the SEC comes out with their final rules, you're going to see, a big sort of deluge of firms starting to hire and starting to actually take this very seriously. I mean, the SEC has even begun litigation. I think it was just a few days ago. It was announced that they were taking action against funds that market as green or sustainable, but really aren't backing up their claims. And so, to me, this is a true indication that they are serious. That probably, the final rules are coming very shortly, guidelines are coming, and you really need to start focusing on this if you're a client that focuses on ESG data and reporting. I think it's time to get involved.
We're all gearing up for that moment. I remember
Yeah.
last time when we talked, we said, it's coming, it's coming, it is coming this year. So hopefully, we'll get a little bit more clarity and guidance to go forward. Now, before I let you go, I do want to
Yeah.
ask you something about the buzzword of the day, if you will.
Sure.
I won't let you go without talking about AI machine learning, because that is part of what we see and hear and feel every day. And frankly speaking, AI machine learning has been, and they are transforming the way how information is being processed and used across not just personal lives, but also across financial services industry and beyond banking. So, where do you see the biggest opportunities in terms of ESG data collection and reporting when it comes to using such powerful technology?
Yeah, I mean, this is the sexy, kind of term that everyone's throwing out there, right? It's AI, generative AI, machine learning, all these cool new technologies to take advantage of big data sets, right? ESG, I think, is the perfect use case for this because there is so much data. There's so many different types of data. They're all sort of disparate. They may or may not be directly connected. And what AI makes possible is really the ability to sort of cut through the noise and kind of sift through everything that you're seeing and get directly to the insights. And that's just one aspect of it, right? With generative AI, we can now use computers or AI to essentially put things together, right? To actually build products, to actually enhance products very quickly, to bring them to market quicker. In addition to providing support. I mean, some of the first use cases that we're seeing are with chatbots, where, I think it's probably going to affect us all, right? When we call customer service, probably, instead of, half the time or taking all this time to get to a person, it's going to be very, very difficult to get to a person, let alone even at some point, even knowing whether you're speaking to a person or not, because the AI is getting that good. It keeps kind of doubling. Every month or two, you're seeing the capabilities double. I mean, just in the last few months, we work with large partners like Microsoft and Amazon and Google, et cetera, at FIS. And I mean, I'm seeing just from beginning of the summer till now, the iterations are just mind-boggling. The new use cases, the new capabilities that are being announced. And I think, if you look at statistics, right, almost everyone that you speak to pretty much sees generative AI as, an opportunity and wants to integrate this into all of their planning to invest in their investments for next year in technology. So it's another thing where it's not going to, stop. I think this is kind of, it's a straight line, very much curved forward and up.
Hockey stick. Yeah.
A hockey stick for adoption and integration into everyday life and everything that we do.
Yeah, I agree. It's not going to go away. So I think as with ESG, the key is to look at how we can best leverage the tool sets that we have and the information that we have, and to create a better space for our clients and beyond. So
I mean, just think about all the changing regulations with ESG
yes,
recently, right? And will continue. AI can help you to sort of adapt all of your answers to those questions or all of your data towards those adapting regulations throughout the industry. So as things change, you can quickly make the adjustments to fill those gaps. Right?
Yep, I'm starting to see some of those tools pop up too. So it is an exciting time, and sky is limitless, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. Let's hope it's green and blue in the sky and green on the fields, and everything works well. That would be great.
That's perfect ending to our conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today, Richard.
Thank you so much for having me again. Really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.